Age of 11. Do not go to second location. Fight like hell to stay in the first. Even if you get taken anyway, raising a huge noise can cause a witness to come see what's happening to you and they can report it. I was on my way home from school for lunch and some guy in a small quarter-ton truck gets out, claims he's a police officer and tells me to get in the truck. Right away I'm thinking I'm not going anywhere with this clown. He claimed to be a cop and I asked where's your badge? While he's launching into this rant about how much trouble I'll be in if I don't do as he says, in my head I'm thinking all we have to do is bolt behind the house right next to us. That neighborhood had a whole mess of pathways that went all over the place. If we make it to that, there's no way that guy is gonna catch us. I straight up told him I'm not going anywhere with you. That caught him off guard, like he wasn't used to someone challenging him. He got this scared look on his face and got back in his truck. Then he tries laying this bullshit on us he's some secret undercover cop and don't tell anyone he's there. Yeah right, my friend and we both ran home and told our parents first thing. They called the cops and we gave a full description of both the truck and the guy. The friend who was with me actually remembered the license plate. After that I couldn't tell you what happened. We never got an update from the police and never saw that guy ever again. I was kidnapped in my car, when I was 18. I had been stalked by the guy for at least a few days, saw the same truck follow me a couple times on my way to college campus. I was just about to get out of my car to go to a bookstore, and this guy jumps in the passenger seat with a gun. He made me drive out of town to a remote area where his truck was parked, never found out how he followed me to bookstore without the truck. He wanted to keep the gun on me while he got out of the car because I had a mace thing on my keychain. As he was backing out, he slipped and lost his footing, and I took off in the car. I drove straight to the police station. He was never caught. Life pro tip: never, ever, let someone move you through threat of violence. If they're trying to get you away from where you are, your chance of survival/escape decreases exponentially if you comply. If they want to get you somewhere else, it likely means they're too scared of causing a scene. Even better is to immediately get out of the car and run whilst shouting for help. If they shoot you, then it's safe to assume they were gonna do it anyway. Might as well be a difficult target. Unfortunately, a lot of people default to their instinct to cooperate in the hope that their assailant will not hurt them. This has gotten a lot of people killed. I have drilled into those I care about to not cooperate and to be as inconvenient a target as they can be. I was kidnapped when I was 7. It was by a very drug-ridden family member who told me he was bringing me out for ice cream. He left me on a bench outside of a bar when the bartender told him he couldn't bring kids in. It was a dirty biker bar in Las Vegas during the 90s. I was young, scared and didn't fully comprehend the situation. I was confused why we didn't go to an ice cream shop. The family member came out with 2 men that terrified me. One of them touched my curly bright red hair and smiled wide. I remember not knowing what to do, so I started singing Joan Osborne's "What If God Was One of Us." They got freaked when I wouldn't stop singing and walked back in the bar. I was definitely a weird kid, but singing as self-defense was kind of smart. I was left alone on the bench again when a man walked up and asked me where my parents were. I told him I didn't get ice cream and wanted to go back to my mom, but my family member wouldn't let me. He walked in the bar but came out just a minute later and sat with me until the police arrived. 20 years later my mom saw that family member for the first time. He was on end-of-life hospice care but made it to another family member's funeral. When everyone was filtering out, he was waiting on the bus home when my mom punched him in the face. I love my mom.
I'm glad your mum got to do that. I love your mom too. Holy beep beep.
Almost kidnapped at Oktoberfest in Germany when I was 15. A girl's phone was stolen and I saw the people who took it. When she asked me if I knew who it was, I said yes, and she grabbed my arm and pulled me outside of the tent we were in. She kept asking me questions of what they looked like, but I felt odd and couldn't remember. A man drove up in a black caravan and asked what was the matter. He has a creepy smile and it felt like he knew the girl. They also coincidentally knew Russian. Luckily, my mom followed us and ran out of the tent we were in and pushed me behind her. When the man said he was just checking on us, my mom lifted her fists and told me to run. I was in shock and couldn't move. Although we were in the back outside of the tent, there were still people who worked at the fest around. The man smiled and took the girl, who we later realized was the scout, and drove off. This was the scariest almost kidnapping I had ever encountered, and I love my mom for her willingness to sacrifice her safety for me to escape. It makes me tear up thinking about it. Edit. Thank you, lovely stranger, for the gold. I won't ask who, since I believe good things happen to those who give anonymously. Your mom was ready to go in swinging. She is my hero. I was kidnapped at 17 by goons my parents hired to take me to rehab when they found out I smoked pot. I was eating dinner with my parents when all of a sudden they got up and walked out of the room with no explanation. Then a few seconds later, two huge guys showed up out of nowhere, blocking both the exits to the kitchen, and told me to come with them. Since they didn't identify themselves at all or tell me what was going on, I assumed I was being kidnapped for real, so I grabbed the kitchen stool and started swinging. I took one down, but the other guy tackled and handcuffed me. After they forced me into a car, they explained who they were and that they were taking me to a wilderness program in Georgia. We were in DC, so I spent the next few hours apologizing, sucking up to them, and basically trying to get them as much on my side as possible. It worked because they stopped for food and told me they would take off the handcuffs and let me eat if I promised to behave. I was a model citizen all throughout dinner, and when we got back in the car they didn't put the handcuffs back on. A few hours later we stopped for gas. It was dark by then and I asked to use the bathroom. One guy was filling the car with gas, and I noticed the guy who was escorting me to the bathroom was limping badly. I learned later I shattered his kneecap with the stool, so I figured it was my chance to escape. I made a break for it. I had a good head start on the guy pumping gas, and the limping guy couldn't keep up. I ran into the woods next to the gas station and just kept going. There's a lot more to the story, but I'm on mobile, so long story short, I found a road, hitchhiked to the nearest town, and luckily still had my wallet on me to buy a train ticket out of there. I spent the next few months in hiding until I turned 18 and my parents couldn't touch me anymore. Holy beep, that's wild. Edit. Beep your parents, for real. What utter beeps? Parents couldn't touch me anymore. Probably because they're in a federal prison. Some important tips that might help you include: if a stranger in a car wants you to come closer, run away in the opposite direction that the car is pointing and keep screaming help. Police. Thrash, fight, bite, and scream, help. Police. Repeatedly, shed a jacket or backpack that is grabbed, drop any excess baggage slowing you down, and escape to a populated area. Yell. Run. Tell. The kidnapper fears a public spectacle and may simply flee alone. Also, witnesses may intervene, or at least identify the kidnapper and or vehicle. If there's a gun, ignore it and run. A gun is used to scare, rarely if ever to shoot a child. Besides, if he's willing to quickly kill a child on the spot, he'll slowly do worse harm at leisure before killing the child later at a secluded, secondary crime scene anyway. Activate their personal security alarm, noisemaker or screamer. Most attackers won't chase a noisy target. Run in circles around an object such as a parked car. Get under a parked car, belly up, and hold onto the underside so he can't drag them out. If he crawls under there after them, get out on the other side. Pull a fire alarm.